Finally, a worthy opponent. Our battle will be legendary.
Episode 2 opens with Sabine recovering in a hospital room after being gutted by a lightsaber. She tells Ahsoka that she's unlocked the MacGuffin, but couldn't get any useful information before the lab was attacked by droids. It's absolutely amazing how she's sitting up in bed after being stabbed with a plasma sword, when Luke had to recover an Bacta tank after Vader cut off his hand. Judging by how long the lightsaber was inside her, you'd think that all of her organs would have been liquefied. Ahsoka then goes to investigate Sabine's home while waiting to be attacked. Apparently, she knew the droid would be there and looked rather satisfied about being right. She brings Sabine the droid's head, and they determine that it came from a New Republic shipyard owned by Countess Leia. Apparently, Hera never checked to see if the Imperial operation had been shut down. Now, this is embarrassing. This confirms everything that we suspected. The New Republic are, in fact, morons. Meanwhile, Countess Leia uses her magic to activate the Rubik's Cube, which projects a map pointing to the Pathway of Peridea, a place mentioned in Jedi fairy tales. Countess Leia makes claims that Thrawn is calling to her, and says the Eye of Sion is on its way, which turns out to be a giant hyperspace gate. The one thing we know for sure is that the Empire is seriously obsessed with circles and spheres. The Rubik's Cube was a sphere that was placed inside its own circle. They built 2 spherical Death Stars, and now a ring. It's a mystery. Anyhow, she also mentions that the ruins were created by an ancient race. It's just a guess, but it's possible that she's referring to the Zepho species from Jedi Fallen Order. We saw the Zepho carved in a pillar of the ruins that Ahsoka entered in Episode 1. The Zepho were an advanced race that also used the Force and eventually fell into ruin. The game suggests that they went off to the Great Unknown, which could be where they find Thrawn. Meanwhile, Ahsoka and Hera discover that the shipyard is still working for the Empire and has created a hyperdrive core. It was pretty obvious when every red shirt in the room yelled, "For the Empire," before they attacked, giving the ladies plenty of time to react. Ahsoka attempts to stop them from taking the core, but is stopped by another Jedi named Merrick, who also looks a lot like Snake Eyes from G.I. Joe. Hera plants a tracking device on the ship with the core as it's escaping, rather than shooting it down. Apparently, she was concerned about the safety of all of the traders in the city below. Kind of felt like her priorities weren't in the right place. She also decided not to bring any reinforcements or an escort, making her the world's dumbest general. Meanwhile, Sabine shakes off the dust of her old Mandalorian armor and gives herself a feminist haircut before making the full transition to a Mary Sue. Episode 3 is even more uneventful than the previous 2 episodes. Sabine trains to become a Jedi and utterly fails. This scene was a callback to Luke's training aboard the Millennium Falcon with Obi-Wan. According to Ahsoka, now anyone can use the Force with enough training. Another convenient change to canon. Hera petitions the Senate to investigate Cetos, where the hyperdrive was taken, and is denied. Her argument is very vague. The senators are convinced that she's chasing ghosts, and no one can blame them. She fails to mention the 2 Jedi that killed the crew and rescued Countess Leia. Didn't mention the map, the 3rd Jedi at the shipyard, or that Ahsoka and Sabine are already investigating. Ahsoka arrives at the gate and her ship is disabled by Countess Leia. Ahsoka decided to fight spaceships using a spacesuit and lightsabers now that she no longer has her ship. Apparently, this was to buy enough time for Sabine to repair the ship. Instead of destroying the ship and killing Ahsoka, Emo Blondie decides to fire exclusively at Ahsoka and ignores the ship, giving them plenty of time to escape. Very convenient. Ahsoka then flies to the planet below to hide in a forest, with Balon now searching for them. They discover space whales along the way that no one watching would understand unless they watch the animated shows. Overall, this show is essentially a live-action adaptation of Rebels, with so much stiff acting and dialogue that the actors could easily be mistaken for their 3D counterparts. It's beyond boring and seems more like an attempt to see how many girl bosses they can cram into a single television show before the audience checks out. I can't believe there are 5 more episodes. If you like what you heard, then feel free to like, share, and subscribe, and I thank you for listening.